Hello everyone, and on behalf of the Mindalia.com team, welcome. Today Ricardo Soto is joining us to tell us about conscious medicine, compassion for the awakened. So let's talk a bit about him. Ricardo Soto is an international speaker and main diffuser of the conscious medicine. So now, of course, let's not delay this any further and let's say welcome to Ricardo. Hello Ricardo, how are you?
Hi, Dalan. I'm fine. Thank you, especially for the effort you are making at this moment with your throat. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here with us, for sharing this space with me. Ricardo, it's a pleasure for me being here. It's not any fault. So I don't want to waste your time. Whenever you want, you can start with this conference, and I'll see you later.
Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank my high ascended masters, my ancestors, and of course, Mindalia for the trust and the opportunity to talk about the conscious medicine. In this new age of truth, a more humane and compassionate medicine is required. The conscious medicine is a new paradigm in health that accompanies or goes along with the soul that asks for help. The term is Lineage in Sanskrit, but this medicine goes along with the soul that, with the meaning of remember its essence, the real self, changing the passive attitude of the patient for a role of protagonist of his, of her, or her own healing process. We choose to reach this school dimension or dual level with the goal of learning, but the difficulty is established by adapting to the different environments that surround us, such as family, schooling, work, society, culture. For example, thereby we generate a gap with our essence of our real self, and that justifies the warming that the disease constitutes for us, for the conscious medicine. From our point of view, we get sick of forgetfulness of what we are, and the disease comes to heal us, just like a master, offering us the opportunity to collect the message or implicit lesson in the crisis or illness that it experiences, in order to raise up our consciousness, giving freedom to the soul to be, in order to heal every tragedy that we seek from outside, whether it comes from the conventional or modern vision of medicine, or whether it comes from the different non-conventional or natural traditional disciplines, will have a given scope just to achieve simple relief or a temporary cure, but to heal from the origin. No one else, that one with oneself can achieve it. The conscious medicine offers to compassionately accompany the one who chooses itself to heal, promoting awareness and raising up the vibrational frequency to achieve it, relying on the ideal tools for that exclusive soul, always in complement and not as an alternative to any another point of view of medicines or therapies. The conscious medicine considers all dimensions of the person: physical, mental, psycho-emotional, and spiritual dimension, recognizing each person as a unique life story. Only you have perceived each fact in your life as you have. The conscious medicine respects this, and the person cannot be compared to absolutely anyone else. The person's perception is its own truth, and what the disease comes to warn him or her must be interpreted according to his or her only way of seeing life. It's exclusive. Thus, anyone that manifests his or her free will to be helped can be accompanied in its healing process, but he or her or she must be willing to heal, which is very different from simply seeking for a relief or just a cure. In a first evaluation, the nifij, the term in Sanskrit for soul who seeks to heal or asks for help, is attended in a mindfulness way. And in this evaluation, it is possible to discern between what the person's mind seeks is to simply get a cure and what the person's soul really needs to remember. It would be what would be to heal, to achieve healing. Healing is an act of courage, of daring to the perfection of life and facing the original fears. Every disease offers to heal the inner child of its innocent perception, perceptions, often associated with fear, guilt, or abandonment, which were incorporated as truth in the in the first 7 years of life. The willingness to heal allows us to release all our ancestors who couldn't or did not dare to face their own internal conflicts. We are, in a way, the ones chosen by all of them to heal them. The transcendence of healing also allows ending the inheritance of that karma to our children, the new generation. We can only heal in a present attention, with a present attention, at a higher vibrational frequency than the one in which the imbalance occurred. That is, the healing process implies the elevation of consciousness as the new era is inviting us all. Before waking up from the illusion of this game of life, we live in a Maya or illusory world, a 3D matrix projecting our own unconscious mind outside. This constitutes an opportunity to recognize ourselves. And this is the first great challenge in life, to recognize ourselves. By occupying the ego in our favor, we can recognize our real essence. It is what the dual level in which we are offer us, and that we express from the wonderful pineal gland. We can know everything developing our real intelligence or ability to see differences. That is discernment. That is the real intelligence, the discernment, the ability to discern. Thus, if I want to know the light, before I must face all of my darkness. For knowing the sacred feminine, I must undress the sacred masculine. Or to learn how to live, we must face death as it is. And to recognize the real self, it is the ego that must be deciphered. It is the way to transcend this dimension and access to the fifth dimension or the new conscious, the new consciousness. My master said, the universe trains the self-chosen, and we choose ourselves when we awaken from the Maya. To achieve this, it is necessary to question our own thoughts of the old paradigm, such as seeing is believing. We are now entering the era for believing to see, finally trusting our intuition as the voice of our divinity from within. It's a divine voice we can hear from within. Spirituality is now much closer. In the coherence, we must demand of ourselves to see changes we yearn for the world. Planetary consciousness, taking nature as a model of life, listening to the wisdom of the native Apus, especially those from the mountain range of the Andes, which now shelters the great Kundalini energy. All these aspects are basic terms of the transmutation towards a new humanity. That's the way. The great divine virtue that distinguishes the human beings from other beings is our free will, and it is applied in our co-creative power of the reality that we see resonating with the creative source of everything, that is the supreme bi-unit, masculine, feminine, bi-unit. The age of Aquarius is also the age of truth, where all the great institutions were to bear their own shadows. For example, churches, big companies, corrupt governments, abuses in families, toxic couples are falling, and we all are being invited to illuminate every hidden aspect of ourselves. It is the only way to really know ourselves and to raise up our frequency. The truth is the way, and the truth is also a feminine essence. This is the era of the feminine energy. Millennia of male dominance has critically damaged us, both women and men. However, the ones that have awakened have the opportunity to heal the dominance conflict between the unconscious patterns of the feminine and the masculine, resonating with the supreme by unit. It is achieving the genuine forgiveness of ourselves, genuine forgiveness of ourselves, and from compassionate love that we will make the critical mass of people that will gather such a level of energy that will allow the quantum leap that is required to access the new dimension for humanity. It is out there, a critical mass we can achieve. It's a level of energy, not a number of people, energy level. However, the current scenario of the matrix with fear giving us a pandemic has allowed us to reach the extreme of fear. Perhaps the only way to express the opposite polarity, maximum love. Crowd control through fear is followed by selling a false security in form of a rescue vaccine, all with the aim of trying to deprive us of our free will or divine virtue, the ability to take responsibility of something or become conscious. Is the way of awaken, to be awakened. In this regard, I envision a near future in which a group of the world's population will be mired in fear, end up accusing and attacking each other, imprisoned in their own minds, with the belief that they are enjoying granted security given by the authorities. But for those who have awakened from the illusion, the road will probably be hard at first. Considered as rebels for defending their freedom and right to be happy, they will be judged as crazy, trashed, and outcast. Probably it will be necessary to live in communities with other happy rebels, self-sustaining harmony with Mother Nature, detaching ourselves from the past, including family members and everything we have materially achieved before. We will be living a new life where the punishment from the ego, the other population mass, will be around, but in which a compassionate and conscious medicine would be available at all times. Duality is it is transcended with unity. We are one, just one. I would like to give an example of how conscious medicine interprets an imbalance. You know, the threading mode, equivalent to stress, it is a generator of forgetfulness, especially in the voyaging which we live as a Western society. I invite you to review an example of how the fear implied in stress can affect us at all levels of our existence. Let's go deep on a cellular scale and imagine the environment, for example, of a breast cell. Life at this level is coordinated through the so-called cell cycle, which basically comprises being born, maturing, doing its job as part of the breast tissue, reproducing, and dying. Generation after generation, the mammary cell completes its cycle, knowing that it belongs to a larger group or tissue, which gives meaning to its existence. Now, if the organism to which this tissue belongs begins a lifestyle little conscious of its wellness, incorporating habits such as inappropriate nutrition, chronic mental stress, sedentary lifestyle, tobacco, poor sleep, and toxic relationships at a cellular level, the interstitium or space between cells, or also called the extracellular cellular matrix or matrix, will lose its pristine aqueous base to become contaminated with toxins and will hinder adequate irrigation with the consequent malnutrition, low oxygenation, damaging detoxifying tissues, and promoting inflammation involving cytokines and other stress-related molecules such as cortisol, adrenaline, and histamine, those related with the oxidative stress at a cellular level. In this scenario, it is no longer easy for the mammary cell to recognize itself as belonging to a tissue, since it seems to be living alone without a greater meaning, since the contaminated intercellular space makes it difficult for it to appreciate its transcendent work, being a fundamental part of a higher organism. Faced with the perception of not belonging or abandonment, this cell can resort to one last action of introversion, since it can once again find its sense of existence in the DNA of its own nucleus through a chemical methylation process, and finally remember that it is part of a breast tissue. But if it is unable to carry out this self-rescue action and find itself in an absolutely contaminated environment, the cell forgets itself and in a desperate action decides not to die. This clearly goes against the physiological cell cycle, which always has included death as part of its life plan. And we have known for years that the only immortal cell of an organism is the tumor cell. Because of this, transgressing the higher order or the cell cycle does not wait for its maturity to reproduce and does it exponentially over and over again, constituting a tumor within the tissue. It grows, if growth becomes even more chaotic, the set of immature cells or tumor requires a greater irrigation than the basal one, invading surrounding circulatory tissue, in addition of being able to reach any other part of the body, configuring a malignant or metastatic behavior, origin of every type of cancer, in this case of the example, a breast cancer. As it is above, it is below. As it is outside, it is inside. said Hermes Trismegisto. Many world visions of native peoples, philosophies, or ancient traditions consider our fractality with the universe. And in the example presented, the person who experiences breast cancer will also be able to recognize the perception of not belonging on or helplessness, lack of transcendent purpose in her life, and that, from the vision of the conscious medicine, breast tissue is associated with conflictual interpersonal relationships, with a lot of dependence or conditions, and that is not from a relationship from unconditional love, which it is what we are meant to be, just love. Thereby, this gives us clues about the origin of that helplessness, since it is linked to the energy vortex of the breast tissue or fourth chakra, anahata in Sanskrit. That is the energetic place from which we generate love relationships. And the left side is linked with the feminine energy, and the right side with masculine. On an even larger scale, we can recognize how much, as a humanity, we have forgotten what it means to be truly human. We are part of a giant living being, or planet Earth, coexisting with other species. We have also forgotten to live in harmony with nature, and above all, we have forgotten our transcendent purpose to experience universal love. In a similar way, the cell can decide to die in two ways. One, programmed according to its life cycle, clean and without inflammation, called apoptosis. And another way that generates a lot of inflammation, affecting its environment, that is called necrosis. But there is also a possibility, as I described in the example, that the cell does not accept that it must die, promoting cellular chaos. I feel that the time has come to recognize as humanity that our behavior has been similar to a cancer of the planet and sustainably exploiting natural resources, polluting almost all the basic elements, exterminating species, and bringing our own mother, nature, to death, forgetting that we are an integral part of nature. We could not believe it is possible to continue with that level of unconsciousness, with our mother nature that contains us, not accepting the plan that life has for us, trying to plan or control a better one, leads us to the current crisis of forgetfulness, but also offer us the greatest leap in consciousness. The time has come to wake up and gather the critical mass of people who, with a high level of energy or vibrational frequency, will be able to help us all to pass to the new level of consciousness that the planet and the universe require. This is the great objective of the conscious medicine, and it is already available for all humanity. Thank you very much to all of you. Please go ahead, Dale. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ricardo, for sharing all this information and all your knowledge with us. It has been me a pleasure listening to you. And now, if you agree, let's start incorporating into our conversation some questions from the people watching us. Let's start, for example, with Caroline from the United States. She says, "There's a lot of people in my family that have cancer. I am very afraid of suffering from it, and every time I get ill, I think that this is the reason that I am having cancer. What should I do? Am I drawing it into my life by having those feelings, those thinkings?"
Okay. I would like to answer with a basic term of the conscious medicine. The only thing that we can really do to help others, it is to help us. There's no other way for really helping others, because there is a free will we have to consider and respect. In the process of cancer, there's a whole family affected, but there is a protagonist, just one protagonist. The whole family wants to help the children, the husband, the wife, father, but the only thing we can do, it is to value the protagonist and hear what is he or she willing to do. Because there's a lot of disciplines, products, natural things we want to offer our family member who is being the protagonist of the process, of the cancer process. But if he or she just wants to cry, to be getting alone, he or she has the last word. He must be here and heard. And we all just can do the process of cancer give us the opportunity for all of us to learn. And we have to learn to detach that illusion of helping. We are there just to be. If he or she has the feeling of asks for help, but we can't help the one who doesn't want to be helped. I think I'm
Thank you.
answering.
That's it. Thank you very much, Ricardo, for your answer. Let's continue with Jose from Mexico. He says, "When did you start to be interested in alternative medicine? Is it compatible with traditional medicine?" That's a very personal question.
Thank you. From Mexico, greetings. It was at my last year of the formal university of scholarship, and in the last year of the university here in Chile, that I thought I knew all the things that I needed for my willing of helping. But I watch myself in the mirror and just see and just saw a really good professional that indicates pharmacology, medicaments. I didn't have all the tools I needed for my willing of helping the soul to get rid of the illusion. And that's when I said, I don't know. And they said that when the disciple is ready, the master appears. And then was my master, the unique represent of the an ancient lineage, which is called KunLi. She is the master Shambhala, Sully Germain. She gets in my life in the best moment. I was for 10 years as a disciple of her, and the only thing, or the very first thing she offered me is to get rid of my ego after all this formation in medicine, and help me to watch it, to see it, and help me to recognize that treasure, which means the recognition that I didn't know anything. That is the beginning of opening my mind. Thank you for the question.
Ricardo, we've got a Spanish question, from Tamara Villa. If you agree, I'm reading it in Spanish, and after that, I'm translating it to English. Tamara Villa, pregunta, ¿la mente nos cura o por el contrario puede enfermarnos? In English now, does our mind heal or can it make someone to be sick? I think both of them. I don't know. What do you think, Ricardo?
Okay. Thank you for the question. I would like to answer that the mind, it is a lot of useful, but the mind thinks it knows. It knows how to drive a boat, but it is the soul which knows where it goes. The mind, it is useful. It is plenty. It's a fractal of the universe. But we must give the mind a purpose, a transcendent purpose in life. So it is helpful. The mind is helpful, but it is the soul, the one that chooses to get experiences from this game of life. It is not the mind, it is the soul. So the mind it must be a disciple, sorry, of the master soul. I think I'm answering the question. Thank you, Tamara.
We've got another question from Australia. Richard, he is cold as you, sorry, has a question. Do you have any real effective tips to give up smoking? That's a very important question, Ricardo.
Oh, yeah. Continuing with the last answer, I would like to invite the one who's asking to ask himself why, for what purpose he is smoking. What is he looking for when he chooses to smoke? Because the question of for what is the purpose, it can't be answered by the mind. We are inviting the soul to respond or to answer, and there is no valuable answer for a thing that always is ruinous. There's no a little doses of something that I know it kills me. We can be killed slowly or fast, but it always be a killer, the tobacco, the smoking, weed, or anything. So we must ask ourselves why, for what meaning, what is the purpose within smoking. I think I can answer that.
Let's go very fast with one last question. Lillian from the United States says, how can we help people who are very skeptical of conscious medicine? I mean, people who turn to chemical medication for everything.
Thank you for the question. I studied the modern conventional medicine. It is great. It is excellent, but it has a really limited scope. It is excellent for accidents, for an emergency, surgery, but modern medicine doesn't know how to get along with how to know the soul, or even less all the spiritual, all the spirit we are. So that medicine is excellent, and it must continue for the aspect, the dimensions of existence that that it can help. But this kind of medicine, the conscious medicine, is a complement. It's not an alternative. It's not that we get rid of that medicine. No, it is an integral medicine which gets the best things, tools from that modern medicine, and complement with all the natural abilities, therapies that they are available for the soul that asks for help.
Ricardo, thank you very much one more time for all this information, for being here with me tonight. I want to tell you about all the people who has been watching us from different countries, for you to feel really happy before we finish this conference. They join us from the United States, from Mexico, Argentina, Spain, the United Kingdom, Chile, or Australia. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure for me. And of course, I'm giving you a few seconds to say goodbye or just to share your final thoughts for tonight.
Thank you for your effort. And thanks. Thank you to all the resonant souls that this message makes sense to them. This medicine is my life mission, and so it is available for the whole humanity from now on, without the illusion of distance, without the illusion of the language. We must use compassionate love to heal. That is the only thing that heals. All the other things we can get from the outside, they can just give us a cue, temporary cue, but it is love with what unites us and heal us from our illusion of living. Thank you. Thanks, Mindalia.
With these beautiful words from Ricardo, we are finishing this conference. To you, dear friends of Mindalia, remember that you can join us through our different channels from YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, VK, and VownLive. We also want to remind you that you can enjoy all our content in Mindalia Radio, 24 hours of conscious content, and you can find this in our website www.mindaliaradio.com. Before saying goodbye, we also want to remind you that Mindalia.com is an international non-profit organization. You can collaborate with us by liking our content, leaving us a positive comment, subscribing to our different channels or different platforms, and sharing, of course, this video with someone else. Finally, you can also donate through a link you will find in our website www.mindalia.com. By doing so, you help us to keep creating more content like the one you enjoyed with us today. Having said that and feeling really grateful, we are ready to say goodbye for now and until a next Mindalia live streaming.